anyway, and then next we had what I thought was probably the match of the night, but what was that, Anthony?
Which was the Usos defending the newly named Undisputed WWE Tag Team titles against the Street Profits for about the 5th or 6th time.
I couldn't get into this match.
Couldn't you?
No, because how many times have we seen it?
Oh, yeah, from that point. But I must admit, I thought it was a bloody good match, as a match.
Yeah, I watched it. Nothing that I haven't seen before. No outcome. I would have, if they had the Profits go over and then reversed it on some technicality, I would have liked it because it was different. Yeah. I mean, the Profits were screaming at the end of the match, "Oh, his shoulder was up," and his shoulder was up. It was true, and the ref didn't see it. Yeah, but you lost again.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's just the problem with this booking at the moment is before the match happened who's going to win.
Yes, absolutely.
It's so obvious, and I was sad. But when these two come out, I've gone same thing again. And I literally switched off. I watched that match twice and switched off twice. Really? Halfway through it, I did, because there's no anticipation. There's no anticipation for what's going to happen.
Well, as of today, the Usos are 350 consecutive days as champion. They were 348 days at the pay-per-view. 7-time champs. Interestingly enough, I didn't realise that when the Street Profits had the belts, they actually held it for 312 days, which was interesting. I really didn't realise it was that long. But having said that, they're starting to, talk about, the Street Profits, is there any truth to the rumour they're not getting on? Yeah. So the split's coming. And Montez Ford has muscled up. He's got 25 pounds of extra muscle on. He looks different.
He does, yeah.
And I think the split's coming. Yeah. Who will be the face? Who will be the heel out of those two?
Montez will be heel.
Yeah.
He looks like R. Kelly, that bloke.
Yeah. Oh, so
we were talking about this. This is what got me interested in the whole thing when I was watching that match, because I couldn't get on with the whole. I said, we know he's going to win, so I checked out mentally, right? But I started looking at him and said, that guy looks like R. Kelly, that Montez Force. You cannot like him. It's something about here, Anthony, in the background. Oh, no. This is what I was saying when I was watching the show. I said, he looks like a heel, that Montez Force. Well, he looks like a guy.
As you know, I'm not a massive fan of the Street Profits, and I've been saying for a while now, I'd love to see Angelo Dawkins get out of that basketball shit, dress up properly with his height and his weight and his athleticism, could be something really, really special.
And you can't hate that guy because he looks like a young Uncle Phil from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
So if they can do the thing where Dawkins is the face and Montez is the heel, I think it'll work well.
Yeah, and I
think that could be a really good story.
There's something about that Montez Ford that's you don't like about him.
It's the same as his wife. That's why they're so suited together. They're both heel. They've got that. What is it?
Turn both Bianca and Montez heel, team together, perfect.
Are they? Is he Bianca is his missus? Is it?
Yeah, they're married.
Oh, I got no idea.
Yeah, but they're both the same, and that's why I don't know how to describe it, Anthony. But there's something about the two of them that grates me. I can't warm to either of those two. There's something about it. But Dawkins, I reckon he could be a sensational big man face.
Definitely, yeah. Definitely.
He could really be anything.
He could be an ex-JYD, really.
Yeah, he could be something really good. And I really hope they do split them, which it looks like they're going to, because they're saying they're not getting on. And, it's probably going to come. They're going to get their rematch, you'd imagine, at SummerSlam. They'll lose again. Something will happen. I think it'll explode at SummerSlam. Yeah.
I switched off though. As soon as
I've got to be honest. As a pure match, believe it or not, and you know how harsh I can be. I actually gave the match an 8 out of 10.
I was out. I checked out.
I thoroughly enjoyed the match. I thought it was really, really good as just a match.
Yeah, no, I agree. No. There's no. To be honest with you, I didn't pay that much attention.
Well, it was a very good match.
I was sitting there
thoroughly
watching
enjoyed
it and I was happy to talk to people around me. I wasn't watching it, It just because as soon as I was like, Usos again, and straight, and Usos are going over. So why am I going to pay any attention? This is just bad booking on WWE.
Oh yeah. Look, no
Change it
doubt.
up. Put
You don't
somebody
want to
else
see
in
the
there.
same matches 10 times in a row. Agree.
Yeah, give freaking the Usos a loss. Drop the belt for one or two
No, they're
nights, and
waiting.
then
They're
go
going
on.
to drop. I reckon the Reigns and the Usos will drop the belts all in the one night.
Yeah, well, that's why nobody's watching Reigns now.
Yeah.
Who's going to beat him?
Well,
It's a bit like that, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you've got to make your champion look vulnerable, even if he's a heel. You've got to make him look vulnerable. You look at Flair.
Yeah.
In these best days, Flair squeaked past that many opponents on technicalities and friggin' have them lose the belts to a count out. Have them just change it. The booking is so bland.
It's so bland, predictable.
Yeah, it's fucking shit, basically. And when I saw them come out, I've gone, I'm fucking out of here. Mentally, I was gone. Snap. That was it. Yeah. How many times you gonna have me watch this shit?
But I must say, it was probably the best match the four of them have had. I actually quite enjoyed the match as a match. I thought it was a really good match.
Unfortunately, because they're booked it so many times, I was out, mentally out. Bang.
What about you, Anthony? Were you out or were you in?
Look, the Usos are going to retain.
Yeah.
It's common knowledge, But I thought it was good. I thought the ending with Montez's shoulder being up, I thought that was a little bit more creative than just having the Usos destroy him.
No, but the problem with all that shit is there, right? Is that with the shoulder being up, you need the crowd to be on it at the time that it happens.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're going to have something as minor, and let me remind you, is the match earlier, one of the pins, the shoulder was up. So the ref wasn't picking it then, didn't like the ref in the earlier match didn't go, 1-2, no, his shoulder's up, and when I think. Who was it? I think it might have been Lashley rolled through with a cradle and Theory's shoulder was up, right? And you could see the shoulder was up by a mile. Now, if the ref had went 1-2, no, his shoulder's up, right, and then done it a couple of times in the match and then missed it on the third one when the pin happened and the crowd saw it, then the psychology of that, well, the referee screwed up, right? But it happens so often in WWE. They just go out and they go 1, 2, 3, and how many times have we remarked that shoulder's been up? Just a bad pin, and now they're going to use it now as an excuse to why there's a rematch. Lazy fucking booking. Lazy booking.
All right, well, we know what you think. What did you give it, Anthony?
I gave it a 6.
As I said, I gave it an 8. I enjoyed it.
I gave it a 6. I'm not ragging on the two teams that are in there. No, I've got no issue with the teams, right? No issue with anyone.
It's a bit overdone, yeah.
You just change it. Do something. This was a premium free event, but this would have been a $45 or $49 pay-per-view.
Well, actually, interesting to note, just as there's two side issues here. One, because you've alluded to two things I wanted to talk about, all in about 2 sentences, Mick. The pay-per-view here in Australia was free on Fox 8. And the reason being is that Main Event had booked the UFC to be on Main Event at the same time. And hence why it was live and free on Fox 8. So I actually watched it through Fox 8 as opposed to normally watching it through the network, which in itself was good. And I understand why they do pay-per-views. I'd like to see the numbers for Main Event here on how many would normally have done it. And would it be better for WWE and Foxtel if they actually had the pay-per-views live and free? Well, because most wrestling fans will have the network, so you're not. I haven't booked a pay-per-view on Main Event since the network came out.
Well, the reality of it is just proves how bad their numbers are when the pay-per-view provider's willing to shunt them and say, "Listen, we're not going to have his on for another product."
Yeah.
That's a concern. I mean, if you imagine if you were booking shows, if you're at that level, and your pay-per-view devices, listen, we're not going to have you guys on because somebody else is on. We're going to take that because we're going to get more money out of that one.
Yeah.
Then you know you've got an issue. So WWE must realise there's an issue. This was just a way of getting it out, right? And keeping themselves, we're doing our fans a favour, which is not true because they would have hit you with the pay-per-view anyway.
Actually, there's another. Well, I said there were two side issues. There was actually three. Was reported by multiple sources that Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, and that Khan, who's the president of WWE, had a meeting with all of the talent at Money in the Bank, and they said that it was a very, very favourable meeting, and that they encouraged everybody to speak up, and that they want to sort of have their input and ideas, and apparently most of the talent received the meeting incredibly well. So that's interesting. And it was also said that Triple H is back full time, behind the scenes. So at the moment it's Stephanie, Triple H, and Khan running the show, with Vince obviously, with creative, but.
Well, Vince needs to be gone.
Well, I think you'll probably find he will now.
I think he needs to be gone, especially with what's been coming out recently.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look great for the company.
No.
And
I think he's probably... Look, he'll be retained in some capacity, but he won't really be... He won't be chairman of the board anymore.
Well, I think even he needs to be out of creative, because that's a toxic environment there at the moment with him and Laurinaitis. And
Laurinaitis will be gone.
Yeah.
If he's not already.
And the quality of what they've been producing. Proof is what happened to NXT.
Yeah.
Like NXT was probably the best brand of WWE.
Oh, it was for ages, yeah.
Right. No disrespect to anyone else, but it was the way it was being run. Triple H at the helm and Shawn Michaels in the background there, and whoever else they had that I'm not making mention of in there. That was the best product that WWE produced.
Regal was
yes.
Ricky Steamboat was doing some...
Yeah, he's not there anymore, though. None of these guys you're talking aren't there anymore.
No, well, Regal's over at AEW. He was on commentary.
I think Steamboat's gone as well, because when they went through there, Vince got rid of them all.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
He did. He moved them all on. Why would you move Regal? Why would you move Fit Finlay on?
Yeah.
These are old veterans that understand the game, So I think there's a toxic environment there that I think that Vince and Laurinaitis and Pritchard are probably guilty of producing. And also too, I think that one thing, there's a lot of terrible things said about Triple H. He was never really a heavyweight champion. He was only there because of his misses and etc., etc., etc. The guy was a great worker. Great worker, right? Yeah. And he legitimately loves the business.
Yes.
Legitimately loves the business, right? So for him, he's got all the passion in the world to be around it. So why would you not have somebody like that running the helm, running it, instead of a guy that's Vince is out of touch? If you look at Vince's body of work over the last 40 years, he's had a lot more misses than he's had hits, but the hits that he's had have been good.
Yeah.
Right? But he's had a lot more misses. If you want to go through your Ultimate Warriors and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? He's had a lot more misses, right? And I think he's out of touch with the wrestling thing. I think Laurinaitis, and I think the other thing, negative thing about Vince is he likes to have himself around yes men.
Yeah.
And even like in interviews with Jim Cornette, which I listen to a lot, Vince has always liked yes men around him.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's the best way to run things. I think that, like I said, the actual it must be a toxic environment there now. You got people up and leaving. You got wrestlers not only being let go, but leaving, catching their own planes and getting out of there.
Well, Cesaro reportedly has taken a significant cut in money to go to AEW.
Yeah. Tony Storm walked out. Yeah. There's probably half a dozen that have walked out. Said, no, we're not dealing with this. We're gone.
And the other little side issue, when you were talking about Ric Flair, you see it came out today that he's teaming up with his son-in-law, Andrade.
Yeah.
And they're going to Puerto Rico and fighting Carlito and a partner of his choosing.
Oh, my God.
So Ric Flair is actually not only just having one retirement match, he seems to be going to have a couple, but him and Andrade are teaming up and going to Puerto Rico.
Ric Flair will never retire. Ric Flair...
He will die in the ring.
He'll retire when he can physically no longer do it anymore. He's another Terry Funk.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot worse than Terry Funk, actually.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Because he's wrestled consistently for 60 years. He was in the 60s when he started, or the 70s? 60s.
No, 70s.
Not early 60s?
70,
late 60s, sorry?
72, 3, I think.
Okay. Well, you are dealing with a 50-plus year veteran that doesn't even look like he wants to stop. They had to force him to retire at WWE.
Yeah.
And he still didn't retire. He went and worked for TNA. You know? So he's not going to stop. The sad thing about it is that, how can I say, for his legacy,
yes,
right? It's like Muhammad Ali. Right? For me, Muhammad Ali in the 60s and to this day, was the greatest heavyweight I've ever seen.
Mm.
You ever watch Muhammad Ali from the 60s, and his speed and his ability before he got stripped of the belt, his speed and his agility and his brilliance in the ring and that kind of thing, and he made every other heavyweight look like a joke. And he wasn't the biggest guy in there, right?
No.
And then you see him after he comes back, he's a little bit bigger, a little bit changed, but still skillful and brilliant, has great wars, has a whole heap of great wars. By the time he hit the mid to late 70s, here's a guy that should have stopped. He's a guy that should have stopped in 75. And he went on. And now you ask most people about boxing, all they remember is the stuff that he did at the end of his career.
Yeah.
When he lost, he won, he lost, he's won. That's when all his losses comes against his record. And that's what you got with Flair. People now, younger generation, like we'll say, like Anthony. And Anthony's a bit of an historian anyway, so he would look further down the line than the average person. But who's this stupid old fool? Probably the greatest wrestler of all time. Arguably the greatest wrestler of all time. Pure wrestler of all time. Right?
Yeah, real passion for the
And genius in the ring, genius outside of the ring, you know, ability, you know, and lived and breathed the business, right? And now they look at some old man wrestling with another guy in Puerto Rico.
Well, it'll be interesting to actually see what he's like in the ring. I mean, obviously he's going to be a lot slower, but
I've seen him training with Jay Lee.
Same.
And I don't think it's good for him to get back in there full time.
Well,
but he's a name, he's a draw.
Yeah.
People are going to book him because people are going to draw. They're going to pay him money for it.
Did you hear that the event that he's doing? It's fairly soon, Anthony, in July, August or something, or
I think it's around the same time as SummerSlam.
Anyway,
retirement number 3.
Yeah, but they said that all the tickets sold in 24 hours for the show, and they've now moved the show to a bigger venue due to the demand of people wanting to see this match.
Yep, 100%. You know, if you
it's a bigger venue now, a different venue, bigger.
Let's say
it's a big payday for him.
But if you brought him here, he'd sell out here as well.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I'd like to bring him out, but I don't know that he'd sell out here.
He'd sell out.
Yeah, maybe.
Him and Hogan sold out pretty well on that show. That wasn't well. That wasn't well promoted. All that. When Bischoff and that come out, and Hogan was shit in that match. Hogan done his knee, I think, in the first 5 or 10 minutes or something. Done his knee, and it was Flair that carried the match all the way through. If you had a big enough name here, they brought him out, he'd still sell out. But the problem is what are you getting? You're getting literally the name.
Yeah.
Literally the name. That's all you're getting. You know? It's, you know, so look, good luck to him, you know, as long as he doesn't get hurt, doesn't die in the ring and make insurance unbelievably unsellable for pro wrestling. You know, all the power to him, I guess. But yeah, I don't think it's that great.